Robin Hood is one of my favorite animated Disney movies of all time, and so I wanted to bring you a thematic deck for it that I am playing. I'm Lorcana Thanos, and today I am bringing you my Champion of Sherwood, a Robin Hood thematic deck profile. Let's get started. All right, so here we have our list for the Champion of Sherwood, a Robin Hood thematic deck. It is Emerald Steel and 62 cards. It's a thematic, casual, locals, kitchen table type style deck. It is the most expensive thematic deck I have made on the channel, and it comes in at $264.20. That's mostly due to one card, but we'll get there. If we look at our curve, we have very minimal ones, a lot of twos, threes, minimal fours, fives, and then sixes. So a lot here in the early game. As you can see, we have 38 inkables and 24 non-inkables. That is the big problem with the deck and it's mostly because of the songs and some of the characters. Is there's a lot of times when you're going to try to play something and you have trouble with inking. This is actually like my third iteration of the deck. I've changed a lot of ratios before in order to kind of get this to where it's at. Yes, you could make it 60. I actually like it at 62. Again, because of some of the songs that we're playing, it's not fully thematic. Like, for example, I was running 2 copies of Steal from the Rich before for thematic purposes, but the card just didn't really do anything and it's way too expensive. So let's go ahead and dive on in. So we have 38 characters and we have 4 copies of Robin Hood, Beloved Outlaw. Um, 3 copies of Sir Hiss. So I love Sir Hiss. He's inkable 3/1 and he has evasive. You're going to need that in this current metagame, and he has a lore pip. 3 copies of Skippy. He's inkable again, 2/2 lore pip, and he has ward. And then 2 copies of Robin Hood, capable fighter. You exert him and you deal a damage to a chosen character. And he's a 1/3 with a pip. This guy puts in a lot of work with another card we have in our deck. So we have several targets in order to shift into Champion Sherwood. Obviously, we're going to get there. 3 copies of Prince John, Greediest of All. This card is fantastic. Obviously, he's primarily played in discard decks, but we do have a discard functionality in this deck. And so Prince John's amazing. I love the 2 lore. He has ward. And then obviously, if you don't know what he does, when your opponent discards one or more cards, you draw that many. So we'll get to that here in a minute. 4 copies of Little John, Robin's pal. So he's a inkable 3. That's a 2/4 with a pip. He has bodyguard, and then during your turn, he gains evasive. So again, it's another way to get rid of threats like Diablo. And yeah, and then we got another card suited for him coming up. 2 copies of Friar Tuck, the Priest of Nottingham. So he's an inkable 4. That's a 2/4 with 2 lore pips. So just when you play him, the player or players, if you're a multiplayer, that have the most cards in their hand, they discard one, which would then trigger Prince John. I was initially running 4, then I went down to 3, then I settled on 2 of Friar Tuck. While he's inkable, and we do need the inkable count in this deck, he doesn't, because it's not pure discard, he doesn't really fit like what we're trying to do. Because ideally, what you're doing is you are inflicting damage while discarding, which is going to make the new Robin Hood and Shimmering Skies in this deck so great. But for what we're trying to do, I had to include Friar Tuck just for a thematic element. But yeah, he doesn't fit the overall theme, but he had to be in here because he's obviously part of the movie. 3 copies of the Sheriff of Nottingham, Corrupt Official. So he's non-inkable, 4 cost, 2/4 with the lore pip, and this card is really cool. So when you discard a card, you deal 1 damage to chosen opposing character. So he will stack with another card that we play because each time you discard, pop, which is going to make that new Robin Hood really good when it comes out. So and then rounding out our fine, we'll go down here. Rounding out our characters. 2 copies of Prince John, Phony King. He's a non-inkable 5. That's a 2/4 with 2 lore pip. This guy's really cool. He's really oppressive if you can keep him around. So when he quests, each opponent with more lore than you loses 2 lore. You can really swing the lore game in your favor, and really lock people out from winning. Obviously, the big card of the deck, 4 copies of Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood. You guys know what he is. He's a 5 cost, inkable, 3/6, 2 lore pip, shift for 3. And then during your turn, when you banish this character in a challenge, you gain 2 lore. And when he's banished in challenge, you draw a card. This card is amazing. It is a steel staple, and it is one of my favorite cards in the entire game. We have 2 copies of Little John, Loyal Friend. He's just a thick boy. 6 inkable, 6/6, 2 lore pip, and then 3 copies of Robin Hood Daydreamer. So we have a top end and another way to shift if the little boys get removed. But inkable 6, 4, 5, and 4 lore pips. And then lastly, we have 3 copies of Little John Resourceful Outlaw. So he's a 6 cost, inkable, 4, 5, and 2 lore pips. He shifts for 4. And then he, while he's exerted, your characters with bodyguard gain resist +1 and an additional lore. So I think that's really cool for like maybe the Musketeer deck or decks that want to utilize bodyguard. Naturally, that would be like a really good inclusion there. But we run 3 for him because we have 6 targets here. Ideally, you're going to do it on top of this one. Moving on, we have 20 songs. So typical stuff. 4 copies of Sudden Chill for the discard to trigger Prince John. 4 Let Storm Rage On for damage and draw. 4 Strength of Raging Fire for damage. 4 then along came Zeus. Deal damage or help deal with locations. 2 Grab Your Sword, again, just effect damage. And then 4 copies of A Whole New World. Again, I know thematically these songs do not fit this movie whatsoever, but they do fit what the deck is trying to do, and so you obviously have to run them. This card is insane with Prince John, and yeah, you're able to put in a lot of work. I very easily can clear my opponent's board with this package, and then I slowly work on their hand as well, and then you just swing the game in your favor. Next up for our items, we have 2, and that's 2 copies of Robin's Bow. This card, not only is it thematic, but it's very cool. So it's a non-inkable 3 that has 2 effects. So the first ability is you exert it, and then you deal 1 damage to a chosen character or a location. So you exert it, and then you can combine that with, and then along came Zeus. That's 6 damage to a location. And then, you've got plenty of Robins here. I love combining it with this, with Capable Fighter, in order that's 2 damage right there on a character. And then he has a secondary ability that when a character of yours named Robin Hood quests, you can ready the item and then deal an additional damage. So if you combine it with Zeus, that's potentially 7 damage. With Capable Fighter, that's at least 3 damage. So it's kind of a good way to control the board a little bit. Rounding out for cards 61 and 62 is 2 copies of Nottingham. So Nottingham is a 2 cost inkable location. It costs 1 to move there and has 6 willpower. And it has a lore pip. It's covered up by the 2 here. That's all it does. And I was initially running 4 at the start, and then I went down to 3, then I went down to 2, kind of like with Friar Tuck. It's just in here for thematic purposes. It's not a great location, but this is a Robin Hood deck, so it has to be in here. And yeah, that's the list. All right, so there you have it. That is the list. Be sure to let me know down below what you thought. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you have any suggestions for how to improve it, keeping it in a thematic element, be sure to let me know. As always, be sure to give me one of these. They're super helpful for the engagement and getting this video out and viewed by other people. As always, be sure to smash the subscribe button and click that bell so you get notified when I upload new videos every Tuesday and Friday. And you can follow me on the artist formerly known as Twitter on X at Lorcana Thanos. And remember, the hardest choices require the strongest wills. Bye.